everybody. Welcome to another segment of Smarterfan podcast, where we bring you behind the veil of sports, business, and life. I'm Joe, and this is Barry. How you doing, Barry?
Boy, I'm stirred up tonight, Joe. Oh, I'm stirred up. I heard some stuff. I'm stirred up. I think we're going to talk about sports, business, and life, and highlight some things tonight that's going to be unique, never done before. So I'm really excited. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. Just fine.
Good to hear that. So what you got cooking tonight? I smell something cooking.
Oh, I'm going to talk about Walter Payton.
Ah, sweetness.
Yeah, man. So now he was born in Columbia, Mississippi, and he was one of three kids. Now his father played semi-pro baseball,
Okay.
and
Didn't know that.
in 78, he was wrongfully jailed for a DWI when in fact he had a stroke that mimicked intoxication and he died as a result in jail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So now in high school, Peyton ran track. He played baseball. He played basketball. And then in his junior year, he joined the football team as a running back. And he was an instant success. You know, he scored in every game in his junior and senior years in high school.
Wow.
But he was never invited to any of the SEC colleges.
No, not during that time.
No, so he wound up going to Jackson State, where he played with Jerome Barkham and Jackie Slater.
Mm-hmm.
So now he averaged 6.1 yards per carry, and he scored 65 TDs in his college career. Now, he graduated in 75, and he was a member of the All-American team.
Yeah.
You know, and he got his nickname Sweetness because of his athletic grace and his aggressive playing style.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, now he was drafted by the Bears, and he was coming in on the heels of Gale Sayers, who retired in 72.
Mm-hmm.
So now he improved steadily as time went on. And in 77 against the Vikings, he rushed for a record 275 yards, breaking OJ's record of 273. So, you know, at one time or another, he played receiver, emergency punter, and quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So now when Mike Ditka took over in 82, they got progressively better. And in 84, Peyton, he passed Franco Harris in career rushing, and then he later broke Jim Brown's record.
Yep. Yeah.
So, you know, and then 85 saw the Bears, you know, they had the second best offense, and they had that vaunted 46 defense that propelled them to the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. That 46 defense caused people to flinch.
Right. Now, what was interesting about that Super Bowl was that both head coaches were from the Tom Landry tree.
Mike Ditka, yes.
And Raymond Berry.
Oh, Raymond Berry. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So now he retired after the 87 season, and he finished with a career of 16,276 yards rushing. I mean, he was a punishing runner, and he reinvented the stiff arm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, he became a co-owner of Dale Coyne Racing in the IndyCar World Series, and he drove in several Trans Am Series events.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, we talked about this last week with mental health issues.
Yeah.
So he battled depression to the point where he thought about suicide on a few occasions.
Really?
Yeah. You know. So now in 99, he announced that he had a rare liver disease, and he spent his final years as an advocate for organ transplants.
Yeah.
So, you know, in April of that year, he made his final public appearance at a Cubs game with Mike Ditka, where he threw out the first pitch.
Yeah. I heard that the liver disease, some people attributed to the painkillers he took during his career. You know, that particular, I don't know if it was Diebol or what, is known to take a tremendous toll on your kidneys. It kills the pain, but it also kills your liver.
Yeah.
And the liver is your filter system to your body.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so he died on November 1st, '99, at the age of 46.
Jeez.
He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in '93, and now every year a player receives the Walter Payton Man of the Year award.
Yeah,
So it was just a sad thing for him to go the way he did.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
but,
Just a tremendous ambassador, just a tremendous human being.
mm, yeah,
I think his brother Eddie played in the NFL for a while.
mm,
Just class all the way. You know,
yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, I think he was probably the first football player to really have a major shoe deal. At the time,
Mm,
they were called roos, as in kangaroos.
yeah, yeah.
And I think he had like a real big contract with them, and he was
Mm,
sponsor of that. He was really he was more than just football.
definitely, definitely. Well, he was the epitome of sports, business, and life.
He really was. Yeah, you got it. You hit it out the park. You definitely hit it out the park with that one. Absolutely, absolutely.
So, so expand on that.
Well, the expansion. I had an interesting. I'm always scouring for topics, and
Mm,
so under sports, business, and life, there's a gentleman called Nuri Muhammad, and I've been following Nuri. He's of the Nation of Islam, and he brings up
hmm
very interesting topics about life and business and Black folk. And he's not a preachy guy. He's a very
Right.
practical guy, and that's what I like about him. So he was doing an interview recently with Cam Newton, and they got into. He kind of brought up some things about how during slavery times, one of the things the slave owners shared that, Black people can only do three things for them is sports, make them sport or make them laugh or, work for them.
Mm,
And, I was listening to it and I was kind of like, well, he's drawing some broad strokes
mm,
because historically, we were doing a whole lot of things in business before slavery. One of the people you can look up is Benjamin Banneker.
mm,
I always tell people, look up Benjamin Banneker and his life and ask yourself, if slavery ended in 1865, how is Benjamin Banneker owning a house, free, and writing a Secretary of the United States, who at the time was Thomas Jefferson?
mm.
Haven't gotten an answer yet. Explain it.
Yeah.
Something's not adding up, Joe. So anyway, he was bringing out, this point and kind of talking about how often we as Blacks look at sports as a come up and so forth and so on because we're in these destitute situations and this, that, and the other. And it kind of like I had to kind of sit and kind of digest it. And
Mm,
I said, you know what, I have a problem, and kind of talked about these areas, right? So I mean, there's a lot of things we've done in business. I said, yeah, sports, entertainment, that kind of thing is pushed out there as the primary, right? But
right.
also what's pushed out there in the primary is religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a whole lot of religious folk, and this is a broad stroke, who've done a lot of good for the Black community, right? In many, many areas, right? And then we've got a lot of people who've not done a lot of good. And then
Mm,
there's been, one of the things a good friend of mine, IT friend of mine, um, uh, did IT, and I said, isn't it? And we're both believers, and said, isn't it interesting that during the '80s and '90s we heard very little of the Black church, quote unquote, talk about the opportunities in technology, coding,
mm.
so forth and so on, to get
Yeah.
these jobs, to seek this education. And
Yeah.
he said, Barry, let me tell you, bro, I'm a Black man just like you. You're so right because there's few of us in it. I'm one of many, but guess who's in it up like crazy? Our Indian brothers, all the way across the
Mm-hmm.
water, getting
Mm-hmm.
special visas, getting the education. And I said, isn't that interesting? preaching and teaching and shouting and hollering and singing, asking for tithes and offerings, and that's all good. But what about the economic uplift of the people?
Mm-hmm.
We're not going. No one's talking about that. So we had this whole, at least decade, 80s to 90s, of technology booming. We hear nothing in our churches about, hey, go get this degree in computer science, go get this coding, go get this. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so as I was listening
Yeah.
to Nuri, it really kind of sparked that energy, and it's just kind of
Mm.
like, bruh, you gotta dig a little deeper
Mm.
because for the last probably 40 to 50 years, the churches could have played a bigger role in helping uplift our people out of poverty, doing skill, utilizing their talent, skills, and abilities. And we've allowed, and let me tell you, not every sports person of color. I know guys who are doctors who play football.
Mm.
Play football. I know guys who are lawyers who play football.
Yeah.
It's not always the down and indigent. I know guys who are musicians and played football and basketball and baseball. You know,
Mm.
and I have to say, not that there's not that racial component to it, because many guys, one, Jalen Brown, it is said in his getting recruited to play for Boston, getting recruited and drafted, many teams didn't choose him because they thought he was too smart.
Hmm. Imagine that.
Imagine that. Why I want a dumb basketball player was too smart, right? And the rest is history. So
Mm.
I just want to talk a little bit about that, give you a part A to that. And there are many others, guys out there playing football who are doctors, lawyers, business people, all kinds. But there's a certain narrative that's trying to project it that
Hmm.
you got to be poor and broke and basketball is your only way out.
Mm.
Nah, there's a lot of black and brown people who pick themselves up from their bootstraps and leverage their intelligence as well as their body to take advantage of opportunities.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Definitely.
so yeah. I mean, as I said, I enjoy Nuri Muhammad. He brings a lot of good points out, but I think it affords a deeper discussion because this is where I'll end this part. I'm tired of hearing people talk about this situation who never played the sport,
Mm-hmm.
never played it at a high level, but they have
Mm.
all of these opinions. Yeah, I'll
Well,
stop right there.
okay. Well, speaking of sports, the NBA playoffs. Okay.
Woo, exciting,
Now,
exciting.
the Knicks and the fans were brought back to earth by the Celtics who beat them by 22 points,
Uh-huh,
115 to 93. You
uh-huh.
know,
Yeah,
now they got their 3-point groove back in this game.
okay.
And they were ahead by as much as 31 at one point. You know, I mean, they just ran the Knicks out of their own building.
Yeah, that's what they was gonna do. They got you. It's coming. You gotta be
Okay.
ready for the storm.
Now, if they win Game 5, I think it's a wrap.
You mean for Boston?
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be. I would probably give the edge to Boston, not necessarily because of their players, but because of their coach,
Mm, yeah.
Mazzulla. He knows how to step on your throat and
Hmm.
finish you.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that,
He knows how to finish you.
the Cavs, they finally get healthy, right?
Yeah,
They make a statement in beating the Pacers, 126 to 104. But
yeah,
it was short-lived
yeah,
because then the Pacers stormed back and stomped on them again, beating
yeah,
them by 20 in Game 4.
yeah,
So now
yeah.
Mitchell is out,
He's out.
yeah, with an ankle injury.
Oh,
And so he's going to be a game time decision for
he
Game
ain't
5.
playing. He ain't playing.
So, now talk about injuries. Steph Curry, he's out with the hamstring, and there's no timetable for him to come back, and they really miss him. That was a big blow for the Warriors.
Well, you know what my opinion of that is? It's time for someone else to be able to step up and carry that load a little bit. Maybe not to
Definitely.
the full extent, because that kid, Buddy Hield, that boy can play.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if he's just at that place in his career and his body that bruh, I need somebody else to take some of this load.
Mm.
If I can get somebody else to take some of this load, I can maybe play 2 or 3 more years. But I can't play it if I got to be the number one every night
Mm.
because his body just won't hold. You see that in Chris Paul. Your body will
Yeah.
just continue to break down, you know?
Yep. Yep. We've seen that. So,
So, you know,
well,
it's,
speaking of that, Jimmy Butler. Okay,
yeah,
he needs to step up now.
yeah.
Pat Riley, he has his end of the year press conference. What
Uh-huh.
he does, so the tension started last season with him with Butler getting suspended,
Hmm.
not getting his contract, and then demanding a trade, you
Hmm.
know. And Riley said, I'm not going to apologize for not giving him a contract,
Hmm.
and he ended up trading him to the Warriors. But in the end, Riley said, he wishes Jimmy well,
Hmm.
and that he hopes that Jimmy wishes them well,
Hmm.
and they're going to be in rebuild mode.
Yeah. I think in hindsight, Pat is very, very, very old school.
Oh yeah,
I mean, and the reality is, do I put this kind of money on a guy who's on a rebuild? It doesn't really financially make sense,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the best thing you could have done is trade him. I mean, one thing you can't say about Jimmy Butler, he comes to work.
Oh yeah,
He comes
yeah.
to work. You know what I mean? And so sometimes those decisions, like sports, business, and life, it's not a personality. It's just a business. Am I going to rebuild with a guy in his 30s? Nah.
Right. Nah, that's
And pay
yeah.
that kind of money? Nah.
It's
I
not
gotta,
sustainable.
it's not sustainable because the body will break down, the ability to go, you know what I mean? And to get the other guys on the rebuild up to speed, that's going to be hit and miss, hit and miss, hit and miss,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just the nature of the game. So I think that them acquiring in Golden State Jimmy Butler, but there's a piece or two that they're missing,
Yeah.
right? Because I mean, Draymond, you got Draymond Green bringing up the ball, bro. You got problems.
That's when he's not getting technicals.
Yeah, I'm like looking at Steve Kerr, bro. Like, bro, what has been your rebuild plan? Like,
Mm.
you just gonna ride these guys until they can't go? I mean, come on. I mean, come on. Where's the drafting? Where's the anyway? Don't get me started. Let me shut up. Let me be quiet.
Well, you care to expand on your business and life?
Well, I think the business and life part of it is the part two would be see to me this is a story how Big Baby out of Boston has made millions of dollars playing for the Boston Celtics
Mm-hmm.
and mental health and not exercising or working through those demons of his childhood or adulthood and ends up getting caught up in a financial scam against the NBA
Mm.
and gets himself locked up.
Mm. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
bro, what's going on with you? And see, I mean, you can't make anybody do not anything they're not ready to do, but it really speaks to me. It speaks to a larger issue that
Mm.
you what makes you think your you're going to outsmart your employer in a scheme to rip them off, and they paid you millions of dollars to play basketball. Like, who
Mm.
who are your friends, and get rid of them. It's,
Mm.
it's, but again, it goes back to mindset and guys understanding. And this is one of the things that really is not talked about. Some in high school, you can be the man. In college, you can be the man, but you may need to make adjustments,
Mm.
right? In the pros, I don't necessarily need you to be the man. I need you to play a role. And
Right.
many guys can't accept that. I don't need
Nope.
I don't need 30 from you a night. I need 15, I need 16, and I need 5 assists. and I may need you to come off the bench for us to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so many guys get stuck because they can't adjust their mindset
Nope, not at all.
and understand that this is a business. You're not in the community, you're not on a playground, you're now getting paid to do this. And these guys, many of these guys' inability to make that adjustment ends up cutting their career short. Think about this.
Mm-hmm.
You and I, Mike Connolly, not because he's not a good player, probably won't be in the Hall of Fame. But guess what he does have? 18 years in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Think about
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
18 years of cashing checks in the NBA. Probably not an all-star, maybe once or twice.
No. But it's
Consistent,
about knowing your role.
knowing your role. Knowing your role. And that I think that thing sabotaged back to sports business. You gotta understand the business. Do I want to be here and force my hand to be something that I was in high school, I was college, I was the man, people, blah, 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 blah. Or do I position myself for the long run?
Mm.
A lot of guys can't make that adjustment.
Yeah. Well,
They have short careers.
talk about business decisions.
Exactly.
Derek Carr decided to retire.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, because he had that shoulder injury, on his throwing arm. And, he just figured, my future's uncertain. Surgery was an option, but there was the chance that it would put him out for the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
And he might get back he might not return to his, his previous form.
Yeah.
So he just decided to call it quits.
Well, I think that's I think for him, that was a smart business decision because he's young enough. In 2 years of rehab, a lot can happen in 2 years when your body gets to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And getting to rest, getting in the right situation, lends to his advantage. He's made plenty of money. And yeah, I think that's a smart situation for him.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting move. George Pickens.
I was hoping we weren't gonna. I was hoping you weren't gonna bring that up, but I knew better.
He was traded to the Cowboys for a third rounder and in 26 and a fifth in 27.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, this is Mike Tomlin just unloading his baggage on the Cowboys.
I'm a coach. I'm gonna do the same thing.
And
you want to pick him up?
And he's only a rental because the Cowboys already made it clear that they're not going to extend his contract after this year.
Yeah, maybe a stopover for George to grow up and mature and to show that I'm ready to play a role. Again, do you understand your role? Do you understand why you're here? You're not on scholarship, as Tuna used to say. You're not on scholarship. This is a business. Your expectations. So it may be a situation where, hey, man, let's show you need to show that you can work well with others. You know what I mean?
That's going to be the key. But Uncle Jed, he likes those pet projects.
That's what he's been trying to cut his teeth on for 30 years, and it ain't work yet.
Nope. And no chance of him slowing down either.
Oh no. He's riding that horse, donkey into the sunset. He gonna ride that to the sunset.
Well, we'll have to expand on that next week.
I thought you were gonna miss it. I said, I think he's gonna miss it. No, I was like, man. I said, not that Joe. Gets me at the fourth quarter with 1:06 on the clock. Gets me in the coffin corner. Whoop.
That's it. Whoop. That's it.
All right, my friend. Well, as we always say, and I hope you guys enjoyed this special segment on Sports Business of Life. We'll keep it coming. And as we always say, as you say, Joe, what did you see?
Stay in the game.
Stay in the game. See you next week, family. Smarterfan podcast.
Good night, all.
Smarterfan.
Ooh.